I'm Mike Bodette with the Reinventing Local TV News Project at Northeastern University. We believe local TV news is important. It's still how most Americans get their news. But the audience sitting down in front of a television to watch local newscasts continues to shrink. And let's be honest, a lot of what they're seeing is formulaic storytelling that's pretty much looked the same for decades.
Local TV news stories frequently feel like they were created with this sort of cookie-cutter format.
Talk to young people. There's a deep divide between them and local TV news.
I think it's tired. It seems almost hokey. It feels almost like you're watching a sitcom when you watch local TV.
I hate to use the word stale, but that's kind of what it feels like to a lot of people. It's been the same for so long and it doesn't change. It doesn't really try to reinvent itself.
We started our research in 2017 and looked at the stories the top-rated television stations in the country are covering.
One of the findings that would not surprise scholars in this area is that crime continues to dominate, continues to crowd out civically important news. Moreover, there wasn't much in the way of innovation in terms of storytelling.
We surveyed more than 600 people across the country about their local TV news habits. They like that it's local, covers the community, they trust it. They don't like that it's repetitive, boring, and cheesy.
We think they can do better, and we think there are possibly some really interesting new strategies for storytelling.
We partnered with 6 television stations. They gave us access to their news stories. Our challenge? To see if we could attract more viewers if we changed the way they're telling stories. We hired an audience research firm to test our remix stories against their originals.
Was misused by third-party software developers who gained access to the information when people used certain applications.
How many of those individual users?
So you use Facebook. They thought the experimental version of a story about a Facebook breach was more appealing and a refreshing change.
It's bad, but did I kind of have it coming by putting my stuff out there on the internet?
For Billy Graham, today marked the fulfillment of that good news that he proclaimed for nearly all of his life. Today, his children.
The greatest need in the world today is a transformation of human nature to make us love instead of hate.
They said the remix story about Billy Graham's funeral was well crafted and the kind of news story they'd subscribe to.
How many other people were nabbed while at immigration centers in Rhode Island and Massachusetts just in the month of January? The answer in the affidavit, 6.
That's not a fact. She never left us. She was taken from us.
The new version of a story about an immigrant's fight to stay in this country spoke to them and was more interesting.
Focus on this switch that we talked about significantly yesterday.
Also more appealing, the experimental version of a story about an Amtrak crash that used animation to show exactly what happened. Supposed to keep traveling straight, but instead it was diverted onto a sidetrack.
If you take your hard news and you try to do it in a different way, perhaps with more depth, different production values, different narrative arc, you might actually really hook your audience more deeply, and ultimately they may be more satisfied with the product.
Here's our advice for newsrooms. Take real risks. Try something that's truly new, not recycled tricks that don't give your viewers the credit they deserve. Break the production mold by using graphics, animation, music, and sound effects for hard news stories in unique, different ways. You may even want to hire an animator. Newsrooms have graphic designers, but animators can bring a different perspective and skill set. Infuse historical video into your stories to add context and tell the whole story, even if that makes the story a little longer.
There's the terrifying possibility that hydrogen bombs may fall.
Tell relevant, innovative stories. Quality journalism, meaningful topics, creative storytelling that highlights the emotional impact. This is not a challenge anyone is going to solve overnight, but it's a discussion that needs to happen for the local TV news industry to thrive and for citizens to be better informed about news that matters in their communities.